All right, guys, welcome back to the Stocks and Sandals podcast. We're doing it virtual this time. Got nobody in house with me. I'm kind of lonely and kind of cold and need somebody to cuddle up to. And Ace isn't here, so I had to zoom out and call out on some friends to come chat with me for a little bit. And so today we have John Tiliacos and we have Aaron Ellis with us today. Special guests, super excited to chat with these guys, but these gentlemen are our kind of pride and joy of Futures Dads. So if you guys are in the Stock Dads community, we do it all, right? Stocks, options, crypto, and we most recently have added futures to our community and the value that we offer. So super excited to talk about this because futures are definitely showing a lot of strength and might possibly be the future, pun intended, for sure. But yeah, these guys are two of the best to do it. We actually went out and kind of, again, scoured the webs for the best of the best. And, in true Stock Dads fashion, we were recommended by a couple of people to look into John and Aaron's previous community, which was Find Your Edge Trading. So shout out to the Legacy Find Your Edge fans and, just another great community who we felt like vibed really well with the Stock Dads community. And we thought would also kind of give us a nice head start and a kickstart off our futures journey and start adding in that value to our members. These guys are super incredible, amazing traders, already super popular in our community, amazing educators, and just have a ton to offer. So, we're going to dive in and let you guys get to know them on a little bit of a deeper level. Those of you who guys are in the community already know and love these guys. Those of you who don't know them are going to love them after this episode, I'm sure. So go ahead and, introduce yourselves. Let's start with John. Tell us a little bit about your background. Don't get too into the weeds. I'm going to ask you specific questions, but, just start off with who you are, and we'll get to Aaron, and then we'll kind of jump in. So.
All right. So, again, thanks so much again, DJ. I'm so happy to be a part of the Stock Dads family. We really were just amazed and honored to be welcomed to be part of Stock Dads. It kind of just worked out because we were really looking to find somebody to help take us to the next level and to really, grow our potential to carry our knowledge to other people. Some people call me JT, as now I go as the chef in Stock Dads. And what I like to bring is an ability to help educate other people through trades as they go every single day. And what I like to do is to teach people how to fish. So that's my style. It's not necessarily like, oh, here's an alert. Oh, you guys can follow this, blah, 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 blah. Too many people do that. I'm here, and Aaron and I are here. We're here to help educate people and take you to the next level as a trader. And that's what we do.
Yeah. You are, you came in swinging, and man, half of the guys that used to trade our options, jumped into futures, and they're like, "Oh, what's this going on? This is awesome!" Now, sometimes our futures chat is more bumping than our options chat. So you guys are coming in swinging and taking over. I love it. But yeah, you mentioned being a chef. I'm definitely going to dive into that. Definitely want to talk more about that kind of background and how all that works with trading. But before we do, let's chat with Aaron, who leads like 2 live sessions every single day for our community. He's in there in the morning, pre-market analysis, talking through what the market's going to do, what he thinks it's going to do, what's looking good, what's looking bad, some of the stuff he's analyzing with the charts. And then he comes back at noon and does what we call the nooner. And, again, is just like teaching and educating and constantly bringing value. So just no shortage, ever from even our Futures Dads is not nearly the size of like our options team and stuff like that yet. But man, between these two guys, they're already, pretty much matching the amount of content and value that you're getting anywhere else in the Stock Dad server. So Aaron, thank you for being here. Really excited to talk to you as well. I noticed both of you guys are rocking hats today, so you're hiding your bald heads. I'm showing mine loud and proud. But let's get to know you a little bit better, Aaron. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, I had to rock the hat because it goes right along with the little picture I've got on Stock Dad. So I started out, actually, I'm from the Midwest originally, from Indiana. I know there's some Indiana ties with Stock Dads. So,
Mm-hmm.
I started out with FYE, Find Your Edge Trading. It's going on two years now,
Over two
something like
years.
that, over 2 years now.
Mhm.
JT and I met on a other actual prop firm trading uh, Discord when there was approximately, I think, eight people,
There was
nine
nobody in
people,
there.
or something like that.
There was no.
Um, so we met and kind of clicked, and I was fortunate to be part of Find Your Edge, and then obviously when we made the move over here, very excited for that. Along with what JT was saying, I really take the education part of this seriously. Showing people, the why behind everything, as opposed to do this, do that. People I've worked with in the past seem to really appreciate that. Kind of the teach a man to fish type thing. JT and I are very different traders. We don't trade exactly the same. So it's a really nice balance of, different styles that can fit for, different personality types. I mean, there's no one complete right way to do this. It's finding the right way for you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to present, what we have found that works, try to shorten that learning curve for everybody. We're excited with the way futures has really taken off and blown up. We both really like it. We both came from the stock and options background. So, we like the clarity of futures, how clean it is. And, being able to share that with others is really what jazzes me. That's one of the most exciting things that we can do.
I love the fact that you mentioned that you don't trade the same, because that's what Stock Dads really is all about. It's always been about just finding a collaborative group of the best traders, regardless of style, anywhere, in any market, right? Because there's so many different ways to trade. There's so many ways to be profitable. There's so many ways to skin a cat, right? That you just whatever works for you personally is what you should be doing. And, we like to try and diversify people's options as much as possible, when trying to find, trading mentors and people that kind of align with what they do. So, it's that's why it was a perfect fit to bring FYE in to Stock Dads. It's been a really seamless transition. I think the members have seemed to really respond well to the added value from both sides, right? Stock Dads members got the added value of the Find Your Edge expertise and the futures, and the FYE got access to all the Stock Dads offerings. So I think it's been a really nice nice addition for both parts, and something that's definitely setting us up for strength down the road as well. So you gotta both mention, that you guys have been around the block a bit. You guys, you're not these traders that learned, a year or two ago, and if you took your hats off, you might find a gray hair or two, right, or a little balding. You guys are, you guys are seasoned. We'll say, yeah, you guys are seasoned. We'll say it. So John, tell us a little bit about that. You've been trading for 20 something years. You also mentioned that you were you're a chef. So just talk to me about your background. How did you get into trading? How did all this start?
So my grandmother had set me up a custodial account when I was a teenager. And so I actually had gotten into trading when I was 16 years old. And with that, it got me interested in the markets. And before then, I actually had no interest in finance. To be frank with you, I was looking to maybe do something else with my life. But once that came about, and actually, DJ, that's funny because you know what that was? It was actually to be the weatherman. As you know, I love the weather, but when I stumbled across the stock market,
Yeah.
it became a different passion of mine.
We
So
talk we talk all the time. We text back and forth. Like every time there's a big tornado or something, John's sending me like
yeah,
crazy facts and stuff, and he's like turning me into this like wannabe storm chaser myself. So it's definitely cool.
exactly.
But yeah, sorry to
I love
interrupt.
that. I mean, extreme weather events, I'm all about it. But anyway, not to go on a tangent. So I started with my custodial account, and it got me really interested. So I did a project in senior year. We had to follow a professional and actually followed a financial advisor. And when I did that, I just became really enough interested into everything that I wanted to study finance in college. So I was trading my custodial account, learning how to trade, trading penny stocks, trading. They had Yahoo message boards back in the day. Used to like see what was on the message board and try and trade it. And
Wait,
you
is
know,
that the original Discord? Our
oh
Yahoo
yeah,
message board is the original Discord?
You're right.
Hey, there you
I
go.
think
It's
Yahoo
been
were for sure the original. So anyway, I ended up going to college for finance. I had a finance degree, and I traded all through that. And I spent a lot of time going through all different markets. Was trading forex at one point. Was trading stocks, options. Just learning my way through the ropes. And really, it was through trial and error. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't really have anything. It's not like we had YouTube back then to really rely on going back and saying, oh, well, how does this work? Really just sat there with the Thinkorswim platform that did exist back then, sat there with it and just kind of learned everything. Initially started with Scott Trade. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but then moved over to Thinkorswim because they had their own platform before they moved over to TD, and was just going through the motions, learning everything. And actually trading is what helped me actually pay my way through college. When the financial crisis came about, my family kind of went through some hardship. We ended up losing almost everything. But I was fortunate enough to not have any student loans, not have any of that stuff, and to be okay as a young adult. And that was not easy back then. Many kids struggled with that. They had student debt. Some of them still have that debt today. And I didn't have to deal with that issue. So I had that immense amount of passion for the finance industry. But when I graduated school, it was in the midst of the financial crisis. So because of that, there were no jobs. The only jobs that existed were sales positions for maybe insurance or something else. And my family had just started a restaurant at the end of my junior year, I believe it was. So I decided that, okay, if this business works for me, then this business being the restaurant, I'll give it 5 years. And if there's enough for my future family, then I'm going to stick around. So actually, before the restaurant, I had absolutely zero clue how to cook anything. And I was literally thrown in the kitchen, baptism by fire, as they call it, and learn how to actually cook. And actually, 5 years down the road, I was looking back and saying it was a great decision for myself because we ended up purchasing the property. And now I've got something for my future family. Even today, we're talking 14 and a half years later, where I've got something, I've got a career path that's worked for me. And I also have this immense asset that I couldn't get working at any other job. I think of it like this, DJ. It's like a 401k. I've got this sitting property for myself that's just worth way more than I would have gotten from any other job in the last, 10 plus years as a professional. So I love it. And I actually enjoy to cook. You got to enjoy to cook to do this. And you got to enjoy what you do, period. But nonetheless, I have traded through every single market cycle since. And I was trading options for over 17 years. When COVID happened, we actually dove into the internet, got onto Twitter, and actually discovered Discord. I didn't even know what Discord was. It was something new to me, came across a Discord, started taking trades, doing some technical analysis that I have known over the years. And with that, ended up, one of the guys over there was starting his own thing. So I was like, okay, I'll come help you do that. So I did that. And then once we did that, we opened it up. It got really popular, made a footprint for myself because I was showing people, hey, there's this play, there's that play, and ended up working out. And I was like, hey, man, you want to go on have with this and grow this business? And he was like, no. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. So I ended up opening Find Your Edge Trading and doing it myself and doing it from the ground up. And it was hard. Like, it was very hard because everybody's out there trying to sell a lifestyle. I'm trying to actually sell people a way to, I guess, give yourself the freedom or the time. Money comes and goes. That time never goes away. Once that time disappears. Once that time is gone, it's gone. So if you can make money that will actually help you get time with, let's say, your family, your friends, whatever you want in life, and you can get that done, then that's more freeing than anything else. Because like I said, money comes and goes. My family went from having everything to nothing in a matter of no time. And it's part of life. But at the end of the day, you got to be resilient and move forward and make time for what's best in life. So anyway, made Find Your Edge Trading, watched it grow, and it was great. We continued to grow over the last couple years. And what I was getting at was this. We were talking about options, and I had actually switched over to futures because what I noticed is, as a mentor and being able to teach people over all these years, is that people still struggle to find out how to handle options over time. And that's because they actually didn't understand how to read price and how to read a chart as it is. So futures to me was the cleanest way to explain that to people. So that's why I moved over from options over to futures. Because for me, it was like, hey, I don't know which contract to buy. Well, I know that can be very difficult, especially if it's a 0-day contract or a weekly. But hey, if I could buy a futures contract, I don't necessarily have to get rid of it in a set period of time. I can hold it as long as I want. Even if it goes sideways, I can still hold on to it and wait for that move to work out for me. So that's why I decided to move on to futures, because to me, it was the cleanest way for people to learn how to trade. And then once they take that, it's funny. My students have now taken that knowledge and now are actually trading options more successfully because they actually learn how to trade price first.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard that story a lot from people who jumped from options to futures and futures to options, and the similarities and the differences and stuff like that. It's definitely tangible. We'll talk more about that for sure. But so I'm going to table that part of the conversation. But Aaron, let's hear a little bit about your background and tell me kind of, you've been also trading for a long time. I think between the two of you guys, you have like 35 plus years of experience. Like this, again, these are not two rookies here, guys. These are seasoned vets, that have been around and done it all, like in all type of market settings. So Aaron, tell us about your background and how'd you get into trading and all the fun, little tidbits that came along the way.
Sure. Well, my background is kind of interesting. I've kind of got two lives basically. From the time I was 18, 17 turning 18, till my mid 20s, I was actually a professional athlete, and that was kind of the prior life, right? So, and then
Well,
once I
don't skim
retired from
over that. Hold on, don't skim over that because I know people are going to want to know, what sport, what'd you do, like how.
sure.
Let's hear the details. Come on now, don't
Yeah,
hold
no,
on on us.
I was a hockey player, believe it or not, from Indiana, which was really odd. If you ever been to the Midwest, I think I was the only kid that didn't have a basketball hoop in my driveway, right? So no, I was a goaltender in hockey, and I was drafted my senior year in high school, and by Colorado, well, it was Quebec, but became Colorado. Played 1 year at Bowling Green, and then signed my contract with Colorado, and then bounced around their minor league system for about 3-4 years. Had both knees done, um, and kind of at that point in time, you kind of have a window, right? So you kind of know when your window's up. And after having both knees done, I didn't really want to be 40 years old playing minor league hockey without anything else, And from the time I was 16 years old, I've lived in, I think, 21 different cities. Going through that's why I always ask people on the lives where they're from, because good chance that I've been there or close to it. But after I retired for that, I was fortunate enough to play for our country 1 year, um, and it was exciting. It's a young man's lifestyle. You're on the road 2 to 3 weeks out of every month. You know, thousands of people in the stadiums. And in the arenas. It's awesome. It's awesome. But it just kind of got to that point where I didn't want to just play minor league hockey for the rest of my life. So I decided to retire. And once I retired, I'd always had sort of a passion for coaching or helping or whatever. And I got involved after I retired from hockey, from playing into coaching. And I started coaching a high school team there in Indiana. And from that, I moved on to coach professionally for 2 years. After I'd coached that high school for 4 years, coached professionally for two more years. And again, at that time, I had a brand new baby. And if you know anything about the coaching lifestyle, if you get a promotion, you got to move cities, right? Like every time you're climbing the ladder, you're moving cities. So, decided to finally put down some roots and was living just north of Indy. And I remember, I'll never forget it. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was just sitting there on my couch watching TV, and an infomercial for, one of those 3-day or those 2-day trading things you can go to, where at the end of it they try to sell you for the 3-day training, and then at the end of the 3-day training they try to sell you the big training, right? Well, I didn't know any better at that point in time, but my one of my brothers-in-law at the time was a broker for Hilliard Lyons, which in Indiana was a big brokerage firm, right? And he was always talking about stocks, this, that, and the other. And I didn't. It seemed like one of those things that, this seems really cool, but I don't know anything about it, so I want to find out something about it. So kind of from that sports background, right? Here's something that seemed kind of cool that a lot of people had success doing it, and it seemed like a neat thing to do. So I decided, well, I'm going to learn how to do this. So I went to this, long story short, I went to this, seminar from this infomercial, and they sucked me into buying the 3-day one, which was, you wouldn't believe the price of this thing if I told you. And I really dug it though.
Go ahead and tell people the price of things that we may offer in the future to shock them a little less.
This was this was back in the 90s, and for the 3-day course was $12,000. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like maybe I'm underpricing things a little bit. If you're listening and you think we're too expensive, maybe I'm going to start putting some infomercials out there and see if maybe I'm doing things wrong.
$12,000 for that. And then with that, though, you got this software, which you had to pay for monthly, right? So, and this great big book, right? This great big book of candlestick patterns and chart patterns and all this other stuff. Okay, and you get to go. You had a 1-day visit to the CME, the CBOT, the Chicago Board of Trade. So you got to go there, right? You still had to pay for your own hotel room and everything, but you got to go in there. So, long story short,
it sounds like only a professional athlete could afford this at that point.
At that point in time, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of got bit by the bug because kind of what it does a lot in trading. I can kind of compare it to golf, right? It's that one clean shot you hit that keeps you coming back, right? So in the beginning, you'd have a good trade and you're like, oh, this is easy, right? I want to keep doing this. And you kind of get bit by that bug. So, after a lot of failed accounts and all this, I was doing nothing but stock, nothing but options. And this was in 2007. So I got baptized by fire about 3-4 months after I started trading.
Yeah, right? Good timing.
Yeah, exactly. So navigated my way through that, not incredibly well, full transparency, after being trading for 3-4 months. Then you have 2008 happen. But what was interesting is, to piggyback on that, I was in new home sales in 2007. That's what I started after retiring from coaching hockey. Well, that's great. So you're in new home sales, and then 2008 hits. So it was like, Lord Almighty, what are we going to do here, right? So I kept dabbling in trading and whatnot. And then a few years after that, I started to get kind of serious. I started to see that, like, this, it made sense. The pretty colors and the little shapes and everything else were starting to make sense to me. And it takes your brain a while to learn all that, right? Because if you just look at a chart, you have it just looks like a bunch of different colors and stuff moving up and down. You have no idea what it means. Uh, so I started to have a little bit of success on the option side of things because I didn't have a very big account, right? And if you're trading stock, you got to, trade an immense amount of money. But I started to have some success on the option side of things. But what was really killing me was at the time, I didn't have the money. I only was allowed to get in and out 3 times a week, right? Everything else I had to hold overnight, okay, because of the pattern day trading. And it just didn't. I was like, man, if I can let it go from here to here and get out, there's got to be a way to do that. Well, I was running around with a guy at the time who was cutting his teeth trading just like I was right at that same time. And he introduced me to futures. And I was like, there's no day trading rule? And they're like, no. I'm like, so why does everybody say futures are so, dangerous? You got to, that's kind of the thing out there. They're so risky. Futures are so risky. Well, yeah, if you don't do things the right way. What you learn along the way is, you can get in and out where you want to. Going into a trade, my max loss is going to be this. You don't know that with a lot of other things, right? That's why, like futures, that's why I say, you'll hear JT say it too, that they're clean, right? They're very clean. Going in, if I get stopped out, I'm losing this much, no more, no less. I know where I'm at. So I really like the structure of that. That's the thing that really drew me, because if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong right away, and I know it right away, and I'm done, right? So I definitely gravitated towards that. And what I've seen over the course since 2007 with all the people that I've talked to and run into and whatever is JT was right. Like you're trading derivatives when you're getting into the options world and stuff. You're trading derivatives of a product, and you don't really understand how the product moves, right? You don't understand how the stock moves. But once you understand how a chart moves, which futures does beautifully, then that carries over. Okay, now I can understand the probabilities of this going here, and I can implement, because I still, I have a side account that I still sell options in, right? I'm not just exclusively futures. But if I didn't know how to read things the way I can read things now, I would struggle with it, right? So, I look at futures as kind of like, and I know JT does too, it's kind of like you punch the clock, go to work, 9 to 5, boom, boom, boom. It doesn't take much. We don't have to be perfect, and go about your day. And that's what's so exciting about being able to show, because I had no idea, being able to show others that there's something out there that as long as you stick to the rules, you can have all these opportunities that you can't really have in certain other instruments. There's no right instrument or wrong instrument, but I really gravitated towards futures like a lot of people do because of how structured and clean. Like I said, if I'm wrong, I know it.
Yeah,
right
it's
away.
more black and white. There's a lot less ambiguity, right? Or if you when you're trading options,
Exactly.
you could guess the move, right? But because of theta decay or the Greeks or whatever, you're still losing money, or so it's
Right.
that is one of the draws for sure. Is like you learn how to read a chart, and you go into futures. Now we're talking, you're either right or you're wrong, and there's a lot less outside factors that can kind of screw with you. So John, Aaron mentioned, how one of the common perceptions in futures, or misconceptions, we would say, is that futures is so incredibly much more dangerous than other market types to trade in. Can you talk on that conception? Is that true? Is it not true? Why and why not?
Well, if you're trading futures, ultimately, just like you're trading any other financial instrument, the amount of money that you put at risk is what you got at risk. Because now we have the prop firm space, which has now allowed a lot of people into the future space. I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a minute. But that in itself has kind of given people, because if a firm is giving you 17 up to 35 contracts to trade on one account, that's just not realistic. And I think that's what's there. That kind of model is what's turning people away from futures, because that, just as an example, NASDAQ, if you trade an NQ contract, it's $20 per point. And if you've got 35 contracts, you're trading $700 a point. The NQ can move 15 points in a matter of 5 seconds if it wants to. And that's just too crazy of a move. So the fact that any firm would actually allow you to trade that risk is just ridiculous. And so I think what, going back to also, used to be a high barrier of entry to trade futures. There didn't used to be discount brokers that existed. If you want to trade a personal account, you used to have to pay a lot of money just to be able to trade futures, because they know that there's that risk if you take a certain amount of size. So that did exist and still exists today, but now there are discount brokers that do allow people to trade more size, especially from an intraday basis. The swing, if somebody wants to swing futures, not as much, but nonetheless, for me, futures is not as scary as people are selling it to be. Again, it's as clean as price action as you will see. And if I'm trading SPY, if I'm trading QQQ, and that's all I'm trading, why am I trading zero-day contracts? Why would I not just trade futures? Because you're going to get the same move. You just don't have to sit there and figure out what contract you need. And I can sit there and make $600, $300, whatever money I would usually make in an options trade in just probably even a shorter amount of time, and be done with my day. You know, the beauty of futures is also this, and it's a double-edged sword, but you can get in and out of a trade whenever you want. If you don't like it, you can get out. If you want to get back in, you can get back in. You have the ability to get into the market and to get out of the market and go about your day quicker than any other asset class in the market. And to me, if I have a job and I've got things I've got to do, I can set alerts at certain areas and say, okay, I want to see what happens when price gets to this area. It goes to my phone. I look at my phone, bam. If I want to take a trade, I can take the trade right there. I can make the money that I want to make in the day, and I don't have to sit there and look at the market all day just to wait for that to happen. The technology is there nowadays that you can be doing what you have to do. You get that alert, you take that trade, and it literally takes minutes, if not less than a minute sometimes, and you can be done for the day. So there's no other asset that you can trade that is available to you as a retail trader.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's definitely like this is we see it's all fun and jest and stuff, but we see the options and the futures guys going back and forth in stock dads, options is the main chat, now futures, and it's fun to see kind of the the little like friendly rivalry where it's like, no, options are better, no, futures are better. It's definitely again, it's just a testament to like it's such a personal, trading is such a personal journey, right? And everybody has to have like a style that works for them. And for some people that's options. For some people options make more sense than futures. For some people, or it's worth a higher amount of risk because of the time value that you can get back from a contract and all that kind of stuff. But then for people who struggle with the conceptualization of those the outside factors and just want to read a chart, futures is probably the way to go. You talked about prop firms, and I definitely want to touch on that again, but kind of on the topic of like just having to have your own strategy and your own plan and like what works for you. Like, Aaron, I'm just curious, like, how did you you went through those crazy classes and stuff like that. Did you like learn your entire strategy from them, or did you learn some things from them and then eventually evolve it over time? How did you kind of come up with your own personal strategy? What worked for you, and what would you maybe recommend to somebody who's still searching for that for themselves?
Right. Well, one thing, it's a great question. One thing that traders need to understand that have not been in the space for a long time is there's this, I always use this phrase, but this journey has no port, right? There's no exact way to do this, okay? You never get there where you're there and you know it all and you've got the perfect psychology, you've got the perfect trading plan, you've got the just doesn't exist, right? Perfection for us, or for any trader, for that matter, is just being able to be consistently profitable. That's what it is. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have things that uh, go against you, and understanding that, I think, takes a lot of pressure off. That there's no one. You're not trying to find that one exact way, and that takes a ton of pressure off, especially with students that I've worked with. When I explain that to them, they're like, "Oh, you don't know like at all. You don't know exactly what to do every single." No, I don't. I've got a few certain things that I look for, and that's what I do over and over and over and over. So back to your original question, I learned a ton, and I'm glad I did. I learned a ton about reading charts, about stuff that I don't really use anymore, but candlestick patterns for stocks, all sorts of chart patterns, all those things, and I'm how to use volume on stocks, uh, all those things, because you need that base. You need to understand what a candlestick is, right? You need to understand what it means. You need to understand what support and resistance is, just very basic stuff. So with that knowledge I had, I started to see some certain things. Basically, the class that I took, it's basically designed to make you not lose money, at least not lose very much. It's not really designed to make you profitable, right? Because you got to keep coming back, right? So there was a friend of mine who is a very, very successful guy um, to this day, and he and I actually started at the same time. We just kind of hit it off on this website, and we actually had started at the same time. Well, he started to see certain things in the market. I started to see certain things in the market, and it just kind of morphed, right? Morphed into what works for me, right? And what works for me on different instruments. The way I trade currencies or crude oil is not the same way I trade like the Nasdaq or the ES gap fill. Okay, so you kind of find your niche, right? And there's literally only, I would say, at a maximum, four things, maybe three most of the time, that I look for, right? And that's it. And I just have found, because as JT will tell you, when you first saw my chart, when I very first started trading, you couldn't even see the price. I had so many lines and indicators and bells and whistles going off, telling me to buy here, sell here, whatever. And as you go through your trading career, you start to eliminate things that you don't find benefit in. Somebody else might find benefit in it, but you find that for how your brain works and your personality and whatnot, this indicator doesn't work, and this indicator doesn't work, and for me. And as you go through that, you kind of almost innocently, right, by taking things away, find what works for you. And once you find that, then it's a matter of, like I said, you're never going to be perfect, but if you've got something that on over the course of time is consistently profitable for you, that's what you want to do. More of what works, less of what doesn't, right? And that's kind of how I morphed into what I've got. So I learned a ton of basics, and everybody needs that. You've got to understand how that works. And then after that, it was just kind of eliminating this, eliminating that, a lot of trial and error, a lot of different brokerage accounts, a lot of, all that type of stuff that, fortunately, we didn't, when we started, we didn't, like JT said, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have all these cool Discords to talk us through and teach us. A lot of it was, well, let me push this button and hopefully it goes up, or let me push this button and hopefully it goes down. Right now, what do I do? Right, it was kind of a lot of that. Right. So that's how I kind of just morphed in. Literally, it was by process of eliminating things that I didn't find value in, and kind of settled in on the few things that worked for me.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome, Aaron. I think that that's like it's really insightful. I think, it's helpful. We talk about it all the time in Stock Dads, and just people have to find what works for them. And for some people that may not even be trading, right? It could be just like, okay, I'm an investor, and there's just so many different things out there for people to make money doing. Maybe you want to put, like myself, who puts all of my time and effort into this business. There's just no right or wrong way. The only real wrong way is to just stand by and do nothing and watch life kind of pass you by without just constant growth.
That's one thing, DJ, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you hit the nail on the head where most people, everybody that in Stock Dads is obviously a driven human being, or they wouldn't be there, right? But you're giving yourself the opportunity to understand things, right? To understand how things work, and to understand the discipline that comes from running a business like yourself, to trading, to all these things. And it really is just this all-encompassing kind of mindset that, hey, I'm gonna step out and try to understand something that, let's face it, the majority of the population just hands money over to somebody in an office and says, here, you do it, right? And I think for what you've done and what you've created here, it gives people that opportunity to understand, or to at least have that opportunity to understand a part of our existence here that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do. And you're 100% correct when it comes to running a business or investing or all this. At least you're given the opportunity to understand that and get on the right side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, if anybody can take anything away from their time in Stock Dads, it doesn't even have to be that you come out of it like a great trader. It's just that you come out of it a more informed person that is just more equipped to, we don't only have dads, right? But like, I always look at it from a dad perspective, but like, who's more equipped to pass on to, your loved ones and future generations a better, more informed future, where you don't have to struggle constantly with paycheck to paycheck, and never really having any sort of empowerment yourself to take control of things. And again, some that doesn't mean you have to work, or do full-time trading. It doesn't mean you have to own a business. You can work, a full-time job. And like John, you love your job and you're a chef, and you owning a business, but I bet you that even if it wasn't your business, you'd still love being a chef. And like, some people just want to work, and that's fine. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that what's really nice about having so many different styles and methodologies in Stock Dads and Future Dads is, like, we've got Duke, who, trades options with a full-time job in the military, right? And now we've got John, who can clearly, turn this into a really substantial lifestyle enhancer, on top of continuing to own and run his business. He can do that on the side. He doesn't have to sacrifice things. So I think that that's really, that's the power of what we're trying to do. It's a really big picture conceptual thing that's hard to market. But that, I think most members, come in and they understand that. And I hope more of them see that that's the vision, and, don't feel like a failure if you end up sucking at options. It doesn't mean that you, like, suck. It doesn't mean that there's nothing else out there for you. It just means you may want to search for something else. And there's so many things out there. So, I appreciate those words, Aaron, because it's our constant vision and mission to just keep growing those resources for people. So, John, I want to touch a little bit on, prop firms, and kind of what that means for, retail traders and stuff nowadays. That's not something that always used to exist. And, it's something that, like you mentioned, kind of reduces that barrier to entry, of having to have, huge amounts of money to get started. Talk about not necessarily any specific prop firm in particular, but just prop firms in general. What does that mean for the retail trader, and how has that impacted you as a trader yourself?
So when I was trading, and I actually probably tried to mess with a prop firm, I believe back in might have been 2015, 2016. And the rules were just absolutely insane. It was like, okay, it didn't make any sense. If you had maybe bought and sold something a certain way, you would have failed your audition and had to start over. And it's crazy how from then until now, how much everything has shifted. And I really actually, over the last, I think it was the summer of 21, when I really started to push the prop firm model to traders. And the reason for that was, if I want to have a small account, I'm going to put $500 in there, $1,000 in there, even $2,000 in there. If I'm trading options, if I'm trading those, my account could be gone in a matter of 1 trade to 5 trades if I don't do it right or if something goes wrong. And it doesn't mean that you are not good at trading, because somebody can make 5 losing trades in a row. When you have a prop firm account, when you have an account that allows you to pay a set fee, meaning I know what I've got my money invested into this, it's a smaller amount. Some are just $100. You may pay as much as up to $500 for some of them, but they're massive accounts with bigger drawdowns. The beauty of that is that you actually get to take your trading to task. You actually get to practice what it's like to take trades over and over again. You can take hundreds of trades on the same $100 that you would have spent, as opposed to maybe trying to refill your Robinhood account. And I think what happened was, when the whole GameStop AMC thing happened, we saw this huge wave of new traders come into the space. And it was crazy. But at the same time, nobody had a real concept of what trading really was. And you saw people losing thousands, even tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars without even knowing what they were doing. And what I like about the prop firm model is it gives people an ability to put their money at risk, because ultimately paper trading, and this is my personal opinion, but paper trading is not really, it doesn't do you any service other than teaching you how to use the actual program, whatever it may be, the TOS,
Pushing the buttons, yeah, right.
pushing the buttons.
Broker.
You're learning how to push the buttons. But you don't really understand what it takes to trade until you actually have your money on the line. And you have to understand your psychology. You have to have that discipline. And there's no better way now than for any trader ever in the history of time to actually learn how to trade with a prop firm and not spend thousands of dollars doing so. So many people basically spend their way out of this space without actually giving it a shot. So that's my view on it. And that's to me is why I primarily have now focused on it so much, because I can risk a couple $100. I can get an account that can make me much more than that. And my money is going way further than it would in a personal account.
For sure. Aaron, how do you feel about prop firms, and do you utilize them in your own trading as well? And kind of do you have any differing opinions on that?
No, not at all. I 100% use them in my personal trading. I actually uh, started with a prop firm in, I believe it was 2009. But the way they worked then, they would just give you 10 times buying power of what you deposit, but you take the losses. So they were basically just giving you buying power, right? And then they would take part of the profit and you would take the losses. Well, it kind of occurred to me after a while, it's not really that good of a deal, right? Basically, they're getting you over the pattern day trading rule without you having a large enough account. So, um, I got back into it for the simple fact of, you don't have to risk your own capital. And I liked the idea of having my own thing, which I've had for a long, long time, but then having this over here where I can, like JT said, spend $100, couple $100, whatever it is. And if I looked at the ROI on that, right? If I can spend $100, even $100 a month for a subscription, but then cash out at a couple grand after 30, 60 days, look at that ROI, right? That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Not only the fact that, the way things are set up now with prop firms, with the platforms that they have, you don't have to pay for the platform. The platform fees when you're trading on your own, trust me, can get salty, right? The license keys you have to buy, things like that can get expensive. So they kind of give you everything for a way low cost. And if I hit the wrong button, right, it's not my money that I'm losing. I've hit the wrong button, right? I've put in too many contracts before. I've hit the buy instead of the sell. I've had the dome on a different instrument than what my chart was and hit the wrong button, right? Well, on screw ups like that, I don't have to take those losses, right? I'm cool with that, right? And there's been some prop firms that have come and gone, and et cetera, et cetera. And the ones I'm with now, I really, really like, and I will continue to have my own thing going on behind the scenes, so to speak, working when I'm not working, and then have my prop thing going on, like the 9 to 5 punch the clock, boom, boom, boom type thing.
Yep.
And it's just worked out perfect for me. I absolutely love it. I highly suggest it to anybody because, like JT said, even if you have $100 on the line that you're paying every month, right, and you're working towards something, say you're in an audition account, right, that is still a different mindset than paper trading, because paper trading, you have zero on the line. You just hit buttons. The favorite phrase in paper trading is, well, if I was trading on a real account, I wouldn't take this trade, but I'm just going to take it because I'm on a paper trading account, right? And then you try to flip your brain. No.
It becomes like a video game, right? And then you start thinking trading like a video game. You try and do it for real, and you realize, there's no checkpoint here. I don't get to come back to life after I kill my account. Yeah. So I want to ask one more question about prop firms, and then I want to talk mastermind, which we've mentioned a couple times before we wrap this up here. But one of the big things that I've heard a lot, and I know is a kind of a stigma around prop firms, is some of them are perceived as a little predatory, and they take advantage of those the fact that you have to buy those accounts, and then they expect you to fail. They expect more people to fail than they do to be successful and actually have to pay out. And then they kind of set up all these rules and stuff like that, that make it a little bit harder on you to do what you may do best. So, John, talk to me a little bit about, about that aspect of prop firm trading, so that we're totally transparent, as always, in Stock Dads, and you have to be informed, and that's the beauty of what we do. So let's inform people of some of the risks of prop firms and maybe what to look out for, and then I'm going to kind of tie that back into why having somebody like John and somebody like Aaron mentoring you is so powerful, because now you're able to take that knowledge and kind of be the outlier for some of these prop firms that they don't expect to have to pay out a bunch, but all of a sudden we're making prop firms pretty mad because a lot of your students are, kind of raking out a bunch of cash. So let's just talk about that aspect of it.
So what I want to say is one of my first experiences with a futures prop firm account, I was in a trade and I was holding the trade and it was working out. I was size too heavy. I'm just being completely transparent here. And my account got closed in profit. And I was very confused because I didn't know what in the world was going on. And I was like, how is that even possible? How can I fail as a trader with a profit? And what happens is people don't understand, and myself included, okay, didn't understand actually fully how those rules worked at the time. Every prop firm has their own different rules, and those rules are going to affect each trader differently because we all have different trading styles. So some people might want to size heavier into trades, and some people might want to size less, but those people that size less may be looking for bigger moves and vice versa. It's a give and take, and you have to understand ultimately, okay, what's best for me? So there are prop firms out there that have trailing drawdowns, and those are trailing you as your account value goes up or down, even if your trade is open or closed. It does not matter. And that was one of the firms I was with, and I was not aware of that, or I didn't understand fully how that worked until I figured out, why won't it take my next order? And it's like, okay, well, you failed the audition, so you have to go back and do that. And again, you have to understand how these firms work on an individual basis. So before you sit there and throw and buy 5, 10, 20 accounts just because you don't know what's going on, you should really consider, okay, how does this work? So each firm has a drawdown. It could be an equity-based drawdown, like I said. So that would trail you as your trade is going up or down. Personally, that's not my favorite. It's actually my least favorite. Then you have firms that trail you end of day, meaning you can go up and down a certain amount, but ultimately what you finish at, it's going to trail you off of that. And then you have static drawdowns. And those are drawdowns that say, hey, you just cannot lose more than this amount of money, period. So ultimately, those latter two are some of my favorites personally, but really it's important to understand that because there's rules where, hey, you can't average into a trade if it's a loser. There are rules that say, oh, you can't have more than a certain amount of contracts. There's a lot of different things that you have to consider when you go through each of these firms. In fact, there's even a firm out there that will put you in one risk model in the evaluation stage and then put you in an entirely separate risk model on the funded stage, which to me makes absolutely no sense because you're trying to basically evaluate this trader, evaluate this trader on this risk model, but now you're going to actually, do a 180 and now it's completely separate. And actually that happened to me as well, where I was not aware that they had a totally different model and ended up failing just because they had a daily loss limit that I was not aware of. So yes, these are just some little things that you actually have to really read into to really understand, okay, how does this firm actually work? Because you don't want to be me spending money that you shouldn't have had to spend extra because you just didn't read the rules.
Right. We're not going to name any names of any, that we're not a big fan of, or anything like that. I don't want to, but I will say, one partner, that we've, grown to know and love and like have done our due diligence on, and John, you worked with them prior to joining us, and you brought them to me, and I've done my due diligence into them as well, and like. At the end of the day, there's one prop firm right now that we trust completely. I mean, there's probably other good prop firms out there, but the one that we would endorse right now is My Funded Futures, and that's one that we just feel like is really trying to do it the right way, not predatory at all towards their customers. They're trying to make things as fair and equitable across the board, and we are very confident in their leadership and that they try and do things the right way. So, and this is not a shill for them to use our affiliate code. Just a shout out for them. But we will drop the affiliate code in the description on the on the YouTube. I mean, if we're gonna talk about it, click on it and start an account. But no, but really, like. We could work with any or all of them and get affiliates from all of them. But at Stock Dads and FYE, and why it was such a good pairing is we really like we try and operate with integrity, which means we're not trying to do whatever is going to stuff as much money in our pockets as possible. We're trying to do what's going to add the most value and be the most authentic, real experience. And for us right now, my funded futures would be the one to go and explore more into. I'll leave that at that. But yeah, so thank you for sharing that. I just wanted people to hear the reality of prop firms because sometimes they sound too good to be true, and in some cases they are. You know, there are good ones out there. They can be a tool, and they can absolutely be, you know, a weapon that you can wield to be a profitable trader, to make a bunch of money and risk very little of your own capital. So definitely something to look into. Aaron, I want to kind of start with you, but we're going to kind of talk a little bit about mastermind here. So you guys have run masterminds before. So normally when I talk about like, okay, we're about to do a mastermind with, you know, Ace or Duke, it's like the first one, right? It's the big, you know, the big grand opening, right? And that's cool and exciting. But also it means that, you know, there's a lot of learning curves for them to go through and teach and stuff like that. And, but with you guys, you've done this several times, and you've, you know, taught a lot of students, and you've had a ton of success. So this is a little bit of a newer, you know, thing that we get to promote for us, for Stock Dads, but for Find Your Edge, you know, members and stuff, they've seen it, they've used it, and they've benefited from it. So I want to talk about each of you guys as a mentor and what you feel like you kind of bring to that mastermind program, why you're excited to run it. And let's start with you, Aaron. I know you mentioned that you were a professional athlete and then you kind of transitioned to coaching. So I'm interested in kind of how your background as a coach, you know, for athletes has kind of translates into your ability to educate. Because the only thing I want to preface is like, just like trading and business, and we talk about how not everybody's going to be a great trader, not everybody's going to be a great businessman, not everybody can educate either. You know, like some people may be an amazing trader, but can't verbalize what it is that they do in a way that's, you know, consumable. You guys seem to kind of be pretty kick ass at that. So I want to talk about that. And Aaron, let's start with you and talk about, you know, does any of that come from your coaching background? And just talk about what kind of, what you kind of like to bring to that mentorship.
Sure. No, you're 100% right. There's actually, everybody knows who Wayne Gretzky is, right? Yeah, he lasted about a year or two in the National Hockey League as a coach and got fired. He was a horrible coach. So it just shows you that there are certain things that people are good at, and there's certain things that people aren't good at. I was taught early on, and I'm not sure, maybe just the way I'm built, that I always, you know, I didn't want to be told what to do. I wanted to be told why to do this, right? That's the big thing with me. And I learned a lot about that when I was coaching high school kids. It was way more enjoyable coaching high school kids than it was guys that are getting paid. Trust me. Way more fun coaching high school kids, right? Because you would show them something, explain the why behind it. They would go out and do it, and then they'd look at you like, "Oh my gosh, it worked! That is so cool," you know. And that's one of the things that I learned along the way about myself and about the way I can communicate and get through to others is, you know, don't say or don't do this because I just told you to. Do this because it's going to benefit you, and here's the why behind that. You know, don't buy here or sell here because I told you to do that. Buy here and sell here because this is what's actually going on under the hood. And when you show someone that, and then they in turn can internalize that this is happening because of this, then it's I've seen over and over and over. That's like when the light bulb comes on. That is true understanding of how something works. And when we go into mastermind classes, I really try to stress that. You know, you could pull up a chart, show it, you know, draw lines on the chart and say when it goes here, do this, and when it goes here, do that, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you understand why when we get here it's doing this, when we get to this line it's falling away from it, or when we get to this line it's lifting off of it. If you understand the why behind that, it puts so much knowledge, your knowledge base becomes so powerful because you will again innocently start to remove things that are just noise, right? When you understand the why behind things, the noise starts to dissipate and you can focus on what's really important. And I think a lot of people that I've worked with in the past that, and I want to choose the right verbiage for this. They don't understand yet the absolute power of having the knowledge to have an ability to pull dollars from the U.S. stock markets or whatever consistently forever, right? Forever. Like this skill doesn't go away. Markets have been the same since the dawn of time. I always tell people on the lives, go back to like 1929 and start drawing from here to there. This is before computers and it's still moving the same. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So having that knowledge that no one can take away, right? And knowing that I can do this once I understand, a few simple things really, really, really well. I've got something that I'll have forever that I can pass on to my kids. My kid turned 18 at the end of May, and we're in the process of setting up a dollar cost averaging portfolio for him that we can manage together. But I wouldn't have the first clue how to do any of that. But he's always asking me, Dad, I really want to learn how to do what you do, blah, blah, blah. So you can build a generational type knowledge base that you can have, your kids can have, grandkids, all down the line. And most people don't understand. They think it's about buy here, sell here, make a couple bucks, awesome. But they don't understand the power behind that to have that knowledge and what that can mean for you. Because it's a dang serious business, right? You have billions of dollars flying through these markets every day. And if you can consistently take your little piece, I mean,
Life changing.
and understand why things are doing what they're doing, and that's what I go for. I go for here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, and here's why it works. And get people involved that way.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, and it really is cool to watch these. I'm gonna really have to sit down. The nice thing for me is I get the recordings of all these things kind of forever for myself, right? So I keep putting off my own learning because I'm just focusing on the business and stuff. But I'm excited to just kind of see how this, because it's cool to watch all these students that actually take the time and go through it, all the way through. This stuff starts to click, and it's man, all of a sudden, we've got a server full of students who are no longer looking for hand holding, they're holding the next people's hand, or they're starting to share ideas, and it's just this growing oak tree with these super deep roots, and it's really cool and fun to watch. So John, what about you? What makes you a different type of mentor than others?
So I want to go back to your reference about the player versus the coach. I feel like that even sometimes for myself, sometimes I feel like I'm a Greg Popovich or I'm a Phil Jackson when it comes to this, because I have created some absolute monsters of their own. And it's because of their willingness to be there and to listen, but to be able to be a coach and to a mentor and to see people succeed on their own is so empowering for myself, because it strives me to continue to do this over and over and over again. Because when I see somebody else succeeding, that means that I have succeeded as a mentor. That's what I see. And when I see somebody tell me, hey, I'm doing this now and I've never been able to do that before for my family, and it's because of what you've taught me and that knowledge, that is empowering again to me, because there's nothing more beneficial in this world when you know that something works and you know you can empower other people. The best thing that you can do is to share that with others, right? Because now you're passing that knowledge to every other person that you come across, and what they do with it, that's totally up to them. Ultimately, any student can sit through any of our classes, any of y'all's past masterminds, whatever it may be. They're going to have to put in the work to get there, to take it to the next level. And I've seen some of, you guys had Aces Mastermind, and I've seen some of those guys now do incredible things because they actually had the discipline to do that. And I've seen guys and gals that have been with us that are now just, again, fully self-sufficient. So for me, it is so empowering, again, to be able to see people succeed on their own. And I will continue to do that because this is what gets me going, right? I like to get up in the morning, see what's going on. I mean, this morning, got up this morning, wanted to deliver to the people, okay, this is what is possible. We got an ABC. This is what's possible. And what happened? One of those plans worked out perfectly. And how does a trader go about that? It goes about having the knowledge to know what it takes to put together a plan and then execute that every single day. Like Aaron said earlier, hey, I only look at like 3 or 4 things during the day and then I make my decision. That's because Aaron has set up his plan over time. For me, I have worked on and put together now my model that we're going to teach in the mastermind. And to me, it's my go-to. It's what works for me. It's what's worked for other people. And it allows people to really understand, okay, where is price going to go? I primarily focus, going back into the way that I teach, psychology is so important when it comes to the markets. But the way that I teach is I try to help people understand the psychology of how people are feeling about an asset or whatever you're trading, and being able to take advantage of that psychology that exists on that asset. And when you can do that and you know how people are feeling about something, you are one step ahead of everybody else. And that's what's so important in trading, is being able to be that one step ahead. So, that's my take. And that's where I think that I can be, such a great mentor to people is giving you those tools to do it on your own and to be one step ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that, you mentioned, the trading psychology buzzword. And I know when a lot of people hear that terminology, many people roll their eyes because it's like, oh gosh, like how many times are they going to be told like psychology, is so important in trading. And like, I love that it is so important in trading, and like all of our mentors hammer it constantly, but I love that you talk about how you look at it from a different perspective, because if something psychologically affects you as a trader, it's also affecting the entire market, right? All
Correct.
sorts of people are getting affected by this, right? So there is a different layer of what you teach, which is very unique and something that I don't see taught anywhere else. That aside from your very unique strategies that nobody else uses or does, that's a topic for another day because those are also incredible. But the different angle on just psychology alone it's kind of mind blowing when you start thinking about like, okay, well, I can learn how my psychology works and that makes me a better trader. Of course, yes, we get it. We've said it 1,000 times. Everybody knows that. Whether you can do it or not is a different thing, right? But learning how the psychology of the markets work and affect other people gives you a competitive edge. And that's how you maybe find your edge, FYE, full circle. And that's how we're going to wrap up this podcast. So thank you guys so much for being here. It was really, really cool talking to you guys. We're going to be doing another podcast with you guys soon, where we're going to talk to one of your former students and get some perspectives from him on, what learning from you has done for his trading, on how his entire perspectives on the markets and all that kind of stuff has changed, and how his life has changed because of it. But thank you both so much for being here. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being a part of the Stock Dads community. We couldn't be more happy to have you. I know everybody in there loves you guys, and I have a feeling that this podcast will make them love you even more because they get to know you a little bit better. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Hey, thank you, DJ.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We really do.
We do. Thank
All right,
you.
guys. The mastermind is going to be going live pretty soon. So if you are interested, definitely get on the wait list for that. You get to learn from both of these gentlemen concurrently in the same mastermind, and which is pretty powerful. And again, 35 plus years of experience, a totally different way of looking at things, stuff that's not taught anywhere else. This is not just a regurgitation of support and resistance and learning the basic price action. This is stuff that is unique to these guys, and it's powerful stuff, and we see it in action every single day. So get on that wait list. If you're not already in the Stock Dads Discord, jump in our Discord, wap.com/stockdads, or find John's social media pages and Chef Trades, and use his affiliate link as well. Jump in there so he gets a little slice of that pie, and we'll see you guys in the Discord. So thank you guys so much again. And this was the Stocks and Sandals podcast. We will catch you guys next time. Peace.